Adventures. My name is Lisa Keegan, and this week we're putting this focus on the modes in the TM6. Now, this doesn't mean that if you've got a TM31 or a TM5 you miss out. We're actually going to as well, or I'm going to show you how to use these recipes on your 31 and your 5 as well. So the first thing we're going to do today is some slow cooking. We've got beef cheeks bourguignon, I don't know how you pronounce that, and I'm going to make that today. It's a 5-hour cook time, and you can still make it in your TM31 or TM5 even if you don't have the slow cook, which is one of our modes on our TM6. So let's get started on this. We're going to start cooking. First things first is some garlic. Now you can see it's shaking a bit. Sorry, washing machine's on today. So 3 cloves of garlic. I'm using garlic paste at the moment. Work with what you've got. If you've only got garlic powder, use garlic powder. So approximately 3 teaspoons, which is about the same as 3 cloves. Next up, we've got sprigs of fresh thyme. I don't have fresh thyme, but I've got some dried thyme. So we're just going to use a teaspoon of that. I'm so excited for this recipe today. Next up, we've got chopping feature. We're going to chop that down. I don't need to do that because I've already got the paste in there. How cool is it that you can just override those? Next up, we've got 20 grams of olive oil. I just had a thought that I'll crack open the jar of onions for later. There we go. Here's my oil. Last week we did a series on bulk, being thrifty with our Thermomix and how much money we can save with our Thermomix. So this week you can see I'm still using my bulk oil, which we actually always do. We just normally decant it into the jar behind me that's just empty at the moment. But the other thing I'm going to do is I'm using chuck steak. So it does say cheeks. I'm using chuck because that's what I've got. 20 grams of salted butter. I'm going to skip that out altogether, make it dairy-free and gluten-free. Oh, come back there. Back arrow. So some cocktail onions. I actually had them for some crazy reason in the back of the fridge, pantry. If you don't have them, you know what? Just use a normal onion, okay? But put it in at the garlic step. So 150 grams then. So it says drained. I have no idea what I have these in the pantry for. I obviously bought them for a recipe and they've been waiting for the recipe and I don't know which one it was. So, change of plans somewhere. It does say cocktails, onions. I don't know. These are called pickle onions. I'm just going to use them. Use them in the same way. Having trouble rolling them in. There we go. 140 is close enough. Next, we've got some salt. I'm going to go light on the salt because later on it says meat stock, but I'm using veggie stock because those of you who have been around a while, you know that I use the veggie stock in place of the meat stock every single time. And here we go. Beef cheeks trimmed. So, talking about buying groups and things like that last week, we buy a lot of our meat and we don't use much red meat, but when we do, we buy it in bulk from a group here in Southeast Queensland called Paleo Beef Direct. And it means you can buy a quarter or a half of an animal it's kind of like an organized thing with the farmers, which is pretty cool. So, but that means you get both the easy cuts and the different types of cuts to use and bones. So it does mean you get a bit of a variety there. So I'm going to use this today, the cheeks. I love that they do send them all packed and ready to go. So I say I'm using cheeks. I'm using chuck, not cheeks. I'm guessing it'll turn out close enough to the same thing. Now it says about 400 grams. I'm going to bring up the scales to do that, which I can push my top button and go scales. So in that goes. And I'm fairly certain this is diced up for me. Yeah, it is. So 400 grams, in we go. Now, I would suggest using the cheap cut of meat. Did I drop some down the front? I did. Oh, use a cheap cut of meat. This is not designed to be cooked with rump or rib because it will disintegrate. Like, you'll just lose all structure from that. Now, I don't actually want to handle my meat if I can help it. You guys know me, I'm a bit special like that, especially when I can't just go to the sink and wash it. There we go. We're in. Happy days. All right, 500 grams. I'm a little heavy, but it doesn't matter. I'm actually going to be a little light on the next step. So next up, it's telling me to put on my splash guard, which is a TM6 accessory. Now, if you do not have a TM6, this is the steps I'm going to change for you. Splash guard. There it is. I'm like, I know it's here somewhere. Just goes on like this. Now, if you have a TM5 and you want to cook this recipe, you put your simmering basket on top. Okay, and then you'll see the next step uses our high heat function. You're going to put, if you have a TM5 or a 31, you're going to put 10 minutes, so a little longer on your timer. You're going to use aroma, you're going to use reverse and speed 1, and you're going to brown off your meat that way. It won't get quite as browned off as the TM6 does, but it will certainly do the job at searing this off to get started. So I'm going to spin this dial up, and it's going to go and cook that for me for 8 minutes until we return for the next step. So I look forward to seeing you shortly for the second step of this recipe. See you soon. Okay, it smells so good in here. That 8-minute cook time is done. Transfer to a bowl and set aside. So let's grab a bowl. Might put them in there for later. It smells amazing. Oh my goodness. Oh, look at that juiciness. I wonder if this bowl is going to fit me in. I feel like it's not. Let's grab up here a thermoserver. All right, look at that meat all seared off beautifully in there. And I can't see, my glasses are fogged up. I will put that liquid back in there. Beautiful, and it's still sizzling. I can hear it sizzling up the back there as well. So, next up, we're going to remove that out. And we're going to go next. Scrape down the base with the sides of the mixing bowl with the spatula and add 120 grams of red wine. In that goes. Now, if you don't drink red wine, veggie stock is definitely going to be needed in this recipe for you then. Look at the bouncing of that camera. I do apologise. And the washing machine on the spin cycle. Plain flour. There we go. Except then, I know we can do it one-handed. I can hold it just 15 grams. You can see the scales are on 5. I'll go up to 20. I could hit the tear button if I wasn't holding the camera. So this is our thickener, and I'm using gluten-free flour for it. So there we go, 19 grams. So gluten-free flour will do the same job, thickening it up. Some meat stock paste, see the tips. So this is where we're going to use our veggie stock. Can't hold it at the same time. So about a tablespoon, I'm guessing about 15 grams is. Oh, a little heavy, that's all right. Normally, general rule of thumb is a tablespoon for a main meal serve. Okay, standard main meal serve. Tomato paste, 25 grams. It does mean later on when it asks for some more salt, I will skip the salt step because I've gone generous there. Okay, insert the lid and the measuring cup. And click on next. And then off that goes on speed 4, cooking at 120 degrees. So that's reducing that liquid down. And in a couple of minutes, we will return for the next step. So we'll see you in a second. Okay, welcome back. What we've in essence done is we've reduced this down, but we've also thickened it. So the reason it was on speed 4 is it's thickened up to a really, no, well, not really thick, but a thick paste like you'd expect. Oh, look at that, like a sauce. And I'm going to say like we do with custards and sauces and things like that. So if you look at that texture, I don't know if you can see that, but it's absolutely beautiful. It reminds me of tomato sauce texture, okay? Look at that. Smells amazing. That red wine smell is just amazing. So now it's got some mushrooms cut into halves. I do not have 120 grams, and I certainly don't have the next mushroom step with the swish browns. I'm just using what I've got, okay? I then have two carrots cut into, and it says 2 centimeters. All right, so I've just got all that in there. I certainly don't have the required amount. There you go. I think I had 200 grams of carrots. I've only got about 75 grams of mushrooms. Work with what you've got though. Don't have bay leaves. I'm just going to skip it out. One day we're actually going to plant a bay leaf tree, but not yet. We're not there yet on the bay leaf. 130 grams of water. And now something that just surprised me, and I realized as I looked ahead, is I actually need more chuck. I thought the total recipe was 400 grams, but it's actually 800 grams, which is awesome because I was thinking it's not going to go far with my family if it's only that much. So what it's got here is another beef cheek. So it originally said 2 beef cheeks in the recipe. I read that as 400 grams, but it meant that it actually wanted them to each be 400 grams. So let's bring up the scales again. And I'd actually, in the meantime, when that 8-minute cook time happened, I went and bagged it up because that's the beauty of Thermomix cooking. We're not slaves to a stove. We can actually walk away, and I bagged it all up for the freezer. So let's grab a bag out. It's not frozen yet, obviously, because it only just happened, but we need 400 grams. In that goes. I might have a little bit more than that. I don't know. Let's just put the whole bag in. 600. Anyway, that's okay. A little generous. Then we're going to put in our cooked cooked stuff as well from up the back. By the way, if you have a TM31 and you're cooking along to this, don't go overboard on the meat because you're going to struggle to fit it in, okay? I may even struggle. Let's see how we go. So in with that beautiful cooked meat. It's getting up the top there. I'll give it a stir and see if it's under the max line. We do have a max line on our bowl and we do want to keep it under that max line. So are we done? We are. So let's just check it's under the maximum line. I'm going to give it a scrape down and take the stuff off the lid. And then this is going to cook for 5 hours. Now this actually might be one of the reasons why a TM31 or a TM5 owner, you may struggle with this. You do need to be available to come back because our TM31 only has a 60-minute time frame, so you're going to need to come back and reset it every hour, and our TM5 has a 90-minute time frame on it. So do keep an eye on that, okay, because you may find that kind of is something you have to come back for, but it's still possible. It just means you can't kind of go out. You are going to have to come back and attend to it. On with the measuring cup, which just landed on the floor, so I'll pick that up in a moment. And we've got 5 hours, 95 degrees, and now it's on just our slow cook mode. So on our TM6, that means it's going to start with some movement and then it's going to sit stationary pretty much for most of the 5 hours. We'll hear it occasionally in there do a wiggle and a jiggle to just move the food around a little bit, but pretty much it's stationary, which is what is amazing about this slow cook mode. So if you were doing this on a TM31 or a TM5, as I said, your maximum time that you've got capable, and then go 95 degrees and then reverse slow stir. Yours will stir the whole time. That's okay because it will be on reverse and slow stir. So I'm going to spin this dial. I'm going to activate it. I will get my measuring cup off the floor, but I look forward to sharing your photo in 5 hours with some amazing, probably mashed potato on the side. So take care. Let me know if I can support you with anything regarding your Thermomix. Thanks for coming along and getting inspired, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video soon. But my name is Lisa Keegan from Thermomixing Adventures. See you soon.